All right, everybody, I'm Logan Alec, I'm a CPA, and this is my stimulus update for Wednesday, September 16th, and things are getting a little feisty in D.C. So I told you yesterday, House Democratic leaders in quick fashion wasted no time in voicing their disdain for the Problem Solvers Caucus March to Common Ground stimulus proposal that proposed a second round of stimulus check and perhaps even a third round of stimulus checks. House Dems didn't like it. They pointed back to their precious HEROES Act. Well, just this morning, Republicans jumped on this as an opportunity to further criticize Democratic leadership for congressional failure to reach a compromise and pass a stimulus bill. Mitch McConnell, even Speaker Pelosi's own House Democrats are sick of her blocking COVID-19 relief, but she insists anything short of her multi-trillion wish list would make Democrats a cheap date. What a joke. People are hurting. They need help, not the Speaker's pointless political games. President Donald Trump, Democrats are heartless. They don't want to give stimulus payments to people who desperately need the money and whose fault it was not that the plague came in from China. Go for the much higher numbers, Republicans. It all comes back to the USA anyway, one way or another. So there we have Trump saying, yep, Democrats are to blame here, but Republicans, don't play cheap. I really want to send more stimulus checks before the election, so don't go cheap. Go for the much higher numbers. Again and again, Donald Trump is bringing up stimulus payments very close to an election, less than 7 weeks away, with millions of Americans making their decision and voting by mail well before November 3rd. Does the Donald have an ace up his sleeve? Push comes to shove. Would he make good on that suggestion that he made previously that he could theoretically exert unilateral authority to send stimulus checks out of unused, unappropriated money without congressional approval? To be frank, that would probably be the last thing Nancy Pelosi would want shortly before an election, because to many individuals that would make the Donald look like the good guy and Nancy Pelosi look like the villain who tried to stop the checks from flowing and getting into people's pockets. So what has Pelosi been up to? Well, I think she's realized that many individuals in her own party are frustrated with what they perceive to be stalling on the part of top Democrats. And Republicans have been very fond of saying, somewhat convincingly, Nancy doesn't want to do a deal because she thinks it'll help Trump before the election. So Pelosi said yesterday, the House is going to stay until the deal is done, because the House representatives, they're scheduled to leave out of town, out of D.C. on October 2nd, not return until November 16th after the election. Why? Because members of the House, they're reelected every 2 years. These folks want to get back to their home districts in October, hold town halls, and if it weren't COVID, right, proverbially shake hands and kiss babies to defend their House seat against a challenger. But yesterday, Pelosi said, nope, y'all can't leave in October until we get a bill done. She said we have to stay here until we have a bill. And then later in the day, we are committed to staying here until we have an agreement that meets the needs of the American people. What does this mean exactly? House has proxy voting right now in light of coronavirus. Let's keep that in mind. And just as I was frustrated yesterday by Democratic House leadership, rank and file Democrats are frustrated as well. Democratic Representative Max Rose of New York's 11th Congressional District called the Democratic leader's rejection of the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal yesterday as yet another demonstration of why the American people hate politics. Another Democratic representative from New York, Kathleen Rice, said, when I speak to my constituents, they don't ask me why Mitch McConnell isn't doing anything. They ask me what our Democratic majority is doing to work around him. And Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas said yesterday, I don't see her, meaning Pelosi, being more willing to negotiate before we get to the election. So I think I'm not too optimistic, but if lightning strikes, I'll be here. So who's going to cave? It's quite interesting, right? Because Pelosi knows she's not going to lose her seat, and the House is probably not going to flip red. That would be a long shot, incredible long shot for Pelosi to lose her majority in the House, at least based on trends we've seen. But could her posturing, her digging into her previous claims that she does not want to go piecemeal with stimulus, doesn't want a skinny bill, could that cause mutiny within her own party? Because remember, her seat as a representative from California's 12th district, that's secure, right? But also remember that assuming Democrats retain House majority, she will be up for re-election as well for Speaker of the House. If enough Democrats who want a deal aren't pleased with her leadership, they could potentially elect a new Speaker from their own party in January. So maybe politically speaking, that's her concern at this point. But of course, she could very well be shooting herself in the foot if she's demanding that these perhaps more moderate Democrats, especially in red states, whose House seats might be in jeopardy, have to stay past October 2nd to get a deal done and not be allowed to go home to campaign, especially if she continues this messaging that she has provided thus far with respect to not wanting to engage in any of these skinnier proposals Republicans and others have come up with. That said, it does appear that the majority of Democrats, especially the more established Democrats in the House, in addition to the more progressive wing of the party, are with Pelosi on stimulus matters. So I don't think her strategy is a terrible one politically, because at least at this point, most of the members of her caucus have adopted her way of thinking with respect to the next round of stimulus. Republicans, on the other hand, I don't think they feel as much pressure right now, hence their extremely skinny, emaciated bill they put out last week, perhaps because they have Trump, who himself is bringing up stimulus checks again and again on an almost weekly basis, and who could very well be willing to cross the line with respect to presidential authority if it means getting more money in the hands of the people, which he believes would help him with the impending election. So things are getting excited again. Pelosi has said, y'all can't go home until we get a deal done. What will this mean? I don't know for sure. Will Democrats put out their own watered down version of the HEROES Act? I'm not sure. But wow, the timing of this just really couldn't be worse, right? Because as opposed to if all this was happening, say, in the middle of 2019, they could have really just focused on helping people, but now they have to think about electability more than ever with the presidential election coming up in less than 7 weeks. Anyway, unemployment. Colorado should go out this week, Indiana next week, Connecticut this week, West Virginia this week, probably paper mailed is what I'm seeing, Kentucky this week, New York this week, Ohio, I've seen reports of a few people receiving it this week, but most still not. Vermont, I'm hearing unconfirmed reports that they are paying paper checks, starting to process this week. Pennsylvania this week, Virginia by end of September. Other states are on here on the map. Again, these aren't just estimates, of course. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.